As I sat there, my mother-in-law, with a glint of mischief in her eye, stealthily poured something peculiar into my drink, believing I was none the wiser. With a smile, she declared, "A special cocktail for my favorite son-in-law." With a nod of gratitude, I subtly exchanged my glasses with her husband, the one who never missed an opportunity to voice his disapproval of my career. After a span of 45 minutes, allow me to introduce myself. I am Ethan Mercer, a 32-year-old independent photographer residing in the picturesque town of Asheville, North Carolina. From the ground up, I've crafted my business capturing weddings, wildlife, and magazine spreads the sort of work that keeps the lights on if you excel at it. And I am. Yet to my in-laws, particularly Margaret, my efforts have always fallen short. How is your little photography hobby unfolding? At family dinners, Richard would pose his questions, his disdain barely concealed. He was an investment banker, the sort of man who gauged success by the expanse of his office and the allure of stock options. Each Sunday dinner at their home unfolded in a familiar rhythm. Margaret busied herself with her daughter, her attention unwavering, while Richard probed me relentlessly about my financial situation. Emily would gently squeeze my hand beneath the table, a wordless gesture of remorse for her parents. All week I found myself immersed in a wildlife assignment in Montana, navigating through knee-deep snow in pursuit of capturing the majestic bison for National Geographic. Though fatigue weighed heavily on me, Emily was adamant that we must not forgo her mother's birthday dinner. "Only a few hours," she assured. The moment Margaret cornered me in the kitchen, I felt that familiar knot in my stomach tightening. Her eyes flitted nervously around the room before she handed me the drink, and I noticed the slight tremor in her fingers as she said, "I made it special just for you." A sense of unease lingered in the air. Little did I realize just how wrong things were about to become. It was 6 years ago when Emily and I first crossed paths at an art exhibition, a moment marked by the presence of my work on display. She was nearing the completion of her master's in environmental science while I was embarking on my journey to establish a reputation. From the very first moment, there was an undeniable connection between us. She grasped my desire to seize the world through a lens, and I held deep admiration for her fervor in safeguarding it. Her parents were a different tale altogether. From the moment we met, it was evident that Richard had envisioned a different kind of partner for his daughter, someone who embodied stability complete with a desk job, a retirement plan, and a company car, a mirror image of himself. Margaret possessed a certain subtlety. She would admire my photos, all the while inquiring about when I intended to find a sense of stability. She would extend invitations to family gatherings only to present me as the photographer rather than her son-in-law. For years I endeavored to win them over. I would arrive at dinner with a bottle of exquisite wine, share my published works, and casually reference my esteemed clients. Nothing could alter their belief that I was merely a fleeting presence in their daughter's life, a chapter she would eventually leave behind. During the last Christmas season, I found myself eavesdropping on Margaret's phone conversation. Emily had the option to marry Daniel, an orthopedic surgeon with a well-off family background, you see. Yet she opted for the path of creativity. Her pause before uttering the word creative gave it an air of affliction. Richard took a more straightforward approach. As Emily and I shared the news of our plans to start a family, he took me aside for a moment. "Raising children comes with a hefty price tag, my boy. Perhaps consider the reality of stable employment before choosing to bring a new life into the world." Emily was never privy to these secrets of mine. Her love for her parents remained unwavering, even in the face of their imperfections, and I found myself reluctant to compel her into a position of choosing between them. With a smile, I grasped Richard's hand firmly. During each visit, praised Margaret's culinary skills, and chose to keep my thoughts to myself. Yet there were indications I ought to have regarded with greater gravity. Whenever I spoke of a successful project, Margaret would call out to Emily, inviting her to lend a hand in the kitchen. How she would inadvertently leave me out of family photos. It was in that moment, as Richard's gaze locked onto mine, that he proposed therapy for Emily's impulsive choices. I turned a blind eye to it all, believing that with the passage of time, acceptance would find its way to me. I admit I was mistaken. On the Friday of Margaret's birthday dinner, I came back from Montana, my cheeks raw and wind-burned, clutching a memory card brimming with images that would cover our mortgage for 3 months. Exhaustion weighed heavily on me, yet I mustered the energy to shower, slip into a button-down shirt, and navigate the drive to her parents' colonial-style residence, nestled in the affluent section of town. The evening began like any other, with dinner unfolding in a familiar manner. Richard couldn't help but boast about a recent deal he had struck. Margaret meticulously arranged the table settings, ensuring every detail was just right. Emily's brother Adam exchanged pleasantries with his wife Jessica, their words flowing in a gentle rhythm of courteous dialogue. I cradled my beer, watching the seconds tick by, eagerly anticipating the moment we could finally escape. Once the main course had concluded, Margaret declared that she had prepared her renowned sangria to serve as dessert. As she slipped away into the kitchen, I stepped forward, eager to lend a hand with the glasses. It was then that I caught sight of it. She possessed 2 glasses distinct from the rest. Upon my entrance, she swiftly poured a substance from a tiny vial into one of them. It was neither a mere garnish nor a hint of flavor. It possessed neither hue nor scent. As soon as my footsteps echoed in the air, she swiftly concealed the vial, her movements quick and deliberate. "Oh, Ethan, I've got this," she declared with an exuberant spark in her voice. "This is dedicated to you, a cherished recipe crafted for my beloved son-in-law." My throat constricted. A delicate film lingered on the surface of the glass, subtly reflecting the light. "Allow me to assist you with these," I offered, grasping both glasses she had set out. In the dining room, Richard was engrossed in his phone, hardly glancing up as I made my way over. "Sangria, my good sir." I set the tampered glass before him, choosing not to take it myself. I observed him as he took a sip, crafting a reason for my choice of water alongside my dessert. 45 minutes later, Richard found himself pale and drenched in sweat, hastening towards the bathroom with urgency. The harsh clamor of his affliction reverberated throughout the home. Margaret's face lost all its color as the realization of what had transpired washed over her. As our gazes locked from opposite ends of the table, a profound clarity washed over me, revealing 2 undeniable truths. My mother-in-law had made an attempt on my life, and she was fully aware that I was onto her scheme. I remained silent, choosing not to confront her. As I savored my chocolate cake, Emily hurriedly dashed off to see about her father. Amidst the turmoil, Richard fervently claimed it had to be food poisoning, while Margaret stumbled over her words, mentioning something about bad shellfish. I slipped the untouched glass meant for me into my pocket, a silent act of defiance. A change had taken root within me. The anger I felt simmered quietly, not hot or explosive. The air was frigid, each moment calculated. I found myself at a crossroads, unwilling to simply let this slip away, yet equally resistant to engaging in their battle. I intended to confront them with the truth of their own identities. On the Monday following the dinner, I brought the glass to David, a former client who operated a toxicology lab. He inquired, his curiosity piqued as I detailed my needs. Was it personal or professional? "It's a family matter," I replied. 3 days passed, and then he made the call. "Ethan, that drink contained benzodiazepines. Not fatal, but potent enough to render someone unconscious for hours, perhaps even leading to some lapses in memory. From where did you acquire this?" I expressed my gratitude and requested a written report. His question went unanswered by me. That night, I confided in Emily about my desire to forego Sunday dinner for a spell, expressing that I needed to concentrate on an impending exhibition. Though disappointment lingered in her heart, she found a sense of understanding. I kept the test results to myself, not sharing them with her. Not at this moment. Initially, I found myself in need of additional information. In the following fortnight, I embarked on a journey of discovery. Margaret found herself with a prescription for Xanax, each one penned by a different doctor. For years she had been increasing her doses, doubling and tripling them with each passing day. Whispers circulated through the town tales of her peculiar antics at a neighbor's gathering, allegations of jewelry theft at her country club, and narratives her family had desperately tried to conceal. With everything gathered, I stood poised, anticipating my moment to arrive. It was during a conversation when Emily casually brought up that her mother was in need of some photos for her social media profile. Emily, taken aback by the request, relayed that she had specifically asked if you would take them. I found myself in agreement. On the subsequent Saturday, I found myself at their doorstep, solitary, with a camera bag slung over one shoulder and a sealed envelope clutched in the other hand. Margaret sat poised, her attire exuding luxury, her makeup flawlessly applied. She explained that Richard was at the office. "Before we begin," I said softly, "I thought you might like to take a look at this." I passed her the envelope that held the toxicology report, accompanied by printouts of her various prescriptions. As she read, her hands quivered with an unsteady rhythm. "This is absurd," she whispered. I could never bring myself to do that. It's clear to both of us what transpired. I made the decision to cut her off. What remains a mystery to me is the reason behind it. Her expression turned steely. "You will never be good enough for my daughter, and that's a certainty. A man ought to offer protection, not mere images. Does drugging your daughter's husband truly offer a sense of security?" I maintained a steady tone in my voice. "It wasn't going to hurt you," she retorted sharply. "It's enough to make you feel ill to think you might miss that absurd gallery opening you've been eagerly anticipating for months, and to prove to Emily that you can't be counted on." I allowed that to settle within me, and so I finally revealed what unfolds next. You will share with Richard what you have done, and from that moment on, both of you will begin to treat me with the respect I deserve. It's not that you've had a sudden change of heart regarding me. Rather, it's the fear of Emily discovering the true identities of her parents that drives this decision. Margaret's laughter echoed, yet it carried a hollow ring. She will always trust us more than she trusts you. With a sense of purpose, I reached for my camera bag. Perhaps not. Yet she will trust the lab report, the prescription records, and the neighbors you have distanced yourself from. Would you stake your relationship with your daughter on that I departed, leaving behind not a single photograph to mark the moment? That night, Margaret reached out to Emily, her voice trembling with emotion, asserting that I had acted inappropriately during our session, claimed I had been hostile and threatening. As Emily stood before me, the weight of her gaze made it impossible to conceal the truth any longer. I revealed it all to her, the lab report, the prescriptions, and the text messages from her mother, which had grown more and more hostile as time passed. My mother insisted she wouldn't do this yet. There was a wavering quality to her voice that betrayed her certainty. The following day, she faced her parents with determination. Though I wasn't present upon her return home, I noticed her eyes were swollen and red, betraying the tears she had shed. "My father believes it's merely a misunderstanding," she whispered softly, "suggesting that you're attempting to create distance between us due to your own insecurities about your career." I simply nodded in response. I had anticipated this moment. "What are your thoughts on this?" I inquired. Without a word, she slipped under the covers and faced away from me. I had resisted, yet somehow I found myself ensnared even further in their web. In that moment, I found myself cast as the villain in their tale, having allowed them to sow seeds of doubt in the mind of the one person whose opinion held the greatest weight in my heart. For a span of 2 weeks, Emily hardly uttered a word to me. She ventured to her parents' house by herself, returning with red eyes and a swirl of new uncertainties. I immersed myself in my work, dedicating countless hours in my studio, biding my time until the storm had finally passed. At that moment, a package found its way to me. There it was, devoid of a return address, with only my name hastily inscribed at the top in a handwriting that felt foreign to me. Within the confines of the package lay a USB drive accompanied by a note. "This is something you must witness. V double quote, Jessica, the beloved wife of Adam. Within the drive lay a collection of video files capturing the home security footage from Richard and Margaret's residence. The timestamps revealed the evening of the dinner. Margaret stood in the kitchen, her movements deliberate, as she added an ingredient to a drink. There I was, stepping in and grabbing the glasses. Richard sat there sipping from the glass that had been tampered with, yet there was something deeper. After we had departed, the scene unfolded with Margaret's voice rising in fury, her accusations directed at Richard for his choice of glass, a moment thick with tension. Richard shouted in response, "This isn't the first time you've pulled a stunt like this." As I replayed the footage for the third time, I found myself grappling with the unfolding reality before me. It was more than just a confirmation of Margaret's actions. It was a glimpse into a deeper pattern, a revelation that Richard was aware all along. 2 days after the dinner, the next file emerged. In the cozy confines of their living room, Margaret and Richard found themselves embroiled in a heated argument, and the subject of their dispute was none other than me. "He knows what you did," Richard said. "What does it matter?" Margaret responded. "It's his word standing in opposition to mine. Hayley will always prioritize her family over him. What if she does? Then she is not the daughter I raised," Margaret remarked with a chill in her voice. "Fear not. I've begun to engage her in conversations about the troubles in their marriage, subtly planting the seeds of thought. When I finish, she'll find herself filing for divorce, convinced it was her own decision all along." I closed my laptop, my hands trembling with unease. This was never solely about my own journey. This represented a calculated endeavor to dominate Hayley's existence, to sever her ties with those who did not align with their aspirations. For years they had been engaged in this endeavor. Without hesitation, I reached out to Jessica. "What prompted you to send this my way?" She spoke softly, recalling how they had done the same to her when she married Adam. For 2 long years they endeavored to tear us apart, insisting I wasn't worthy. It came so close to succeeding. Why was it not shared with us? Adam remains unaware, she confessed. He reveres his father, hanging on to every word he utters. I've attempted to share my concerns with him, yet he perceives me as merely paranoid. I found myself unable to bear witness as they inflicted the same fate upon another. The following day, a message from Richard found its way to my phone. "It's time for us to have a conversation. Man to man, just the two of us, no wives involved." It was at his country club that our paths first crossed. In a secluded room, he sat savoring his bourbon as he waited. "Ethan," he began, "families weave a tapestry of complexity. My wife, she has her challenges, fiercely protective, yet her intentions are always good." "Does drugging someone really mean well?" I inquired. With a casual flick of his wrist, he dismissed the notion entirely. A moment of confusion. Margaret finds herself relying on medication to manage her anxiety. "It seems she may have confused the glasses. I've got the security footage, Richard." In an instant, his expression shifted, transforming into a mask of cold calculation. "What is it that you desire?" "Funds, is that truly what this is all about?" It was clear to me from the start that your union with Emily was driven by monetary motives. "I want you both to leave us alone," I stated plainly. "Cease your efforts to persuade Emily that I fall short. Please refrain from meddling in our marriage." With a subtle shift, Richard leaned forward. "Do you really believe this is the first time we've encountered someone like you, individuals seeking to exploit our family?" He let out a hearty laugh. "Emily will return to the place that feels like home, as she always does. Inquire with her regarding Daniel. Inquire about the fiancé who came before you." A chill enveloped me. "What is it that you are referring to? Before crossing paths with you, Emily had been engaged?" "A kind-hearted gentleman, a healer by profession. His background was not to our liking. It took us half a year to persuade her that he was not the right choice for her. She decided to end it. Returned home in tears to my father. He offered a smile. History has a way of repeating itself, my son. As I made my way home, I picked up the phone and dialed Emily's college roommate, Megan. I inquired about Daniel. "Oh God," she exclaimed. That experience was truly dreadful. He seemed like the ideal match for her, yet her parents, with their persuasive words, led her to believe he was unfaithful. Evidence was carefully placed. He attempted to reveal the truth to her, yet by that point her trust in him had faded away. Now the pattern revealed itself with clarity. This was never solely about my own journey. It revolved around control, absolute authority over their daughter's existence. They had accomplished it in the past. In that moment, I chose not to confront Emily right away. Instead, I began to collect every fragment of evidence that crossed my path. I approached Daniel, who seemed hesitant at first to engage in conversation with me. As I recounted the unfolding events, he shared with me a collection of old emails exchanged between him and Emily, revealing the ways in which her parents had methodically eroded the foundation of their relationship. I reached out to other former flames, those old companions of Emily's who had inexplicably faded from view. A pattern began to take shape. Those who championed Emily's independence found themselves slowly distanced from her life. Jessica shared additional security footage revealing a conversation between Margaret and Richard as they plotted their plans concerning us. "Once they divorce, we'll convince her to move back home," Richard remarked in one clip. "She has the capability to lead the foundation. Encounter compatible gentlemen." All the pieces came together neatly organized onto a single drive. So I extended an invitation to Adam and Jessica for dinner, all the while keeping Emily in the dark about my plans to shatter her family's reputation. As we savored our dessert, I took the opportunity to link my laptop to the TV. "I have something important for you both to witness," I said. For the next hour, we sat side by side, engrossed in the footage that unfolded before us. Emily remained still, her complexion ashen. Adam shook his head repeatedly, whispering to himself, "Those aren't my parents." As the final moments faded away, Emily faced me, her cheeks glistening with tears that flowed freely. "Why didn't you share this with me earlier? I needed you to witness it for yourself," I explained. "Everything. It's not merely about what they inflicted upon me, it's about the relentless actions they've taken against you throughout your entire existence." Adam rose to his feet, seething with anger. "This is utterly ridiculous. You have taken the time to edit these videos. My parents would never engage in such a thing." Jessica's fingers brushed against his arm. "They did it to us as well, Adam. What do you suppose changed for them to suddenly take a liking to me after Noah came into the picture? For them, a grandchild signified a form of leverage." Adam's face lost all its color. "You never shared that with me." "I made an effort," she murmured. "You chose not to listen." As the night deepened, Emily slipped into bed next to me. "I need time to process this," she said softly. "Yet I have faith in you, and I apologize for having doubted you." As dawn broke, Margaret picked up the phone and called. Emily activated the speakerphone. "Darling, I was thinking you should come stay with us for a while," Margaret said, her voice bright with enthusiasm. "Your father and I find ourselves concerned for your well-being. Marriage presents its challenges, and at times a separation can provide the clarity one seeks." Mom, Emily interjected, "I have watched the videos." Stillness. "So which videos are we talking about? The footage of the security cameras, of you slipping something into Ethan's drink, of you and Dad scheming to unravel the bonds of my marriage?" Yet another moment of stillness. "Emily, everything he has revealed to you has been altered. Ethan has always harbored a sense of jealousy towards our family." "Halt!" Emily's voice carried a resolute strength. "This evening we shall make our way to your place. Every one of us, Adam, Jessica, Ethan, and I. As a family, we will engage in this discussion together. Truth reigns supreme." Once she ended the call, Emily faced me. "They will refute all claims. They will attempt to shift the blame onto you." I gave a slight nod. "I am aware. So what shall we do next?" After what felt like an eternity, A smile finally graced my lips. I believe the moment has come for your parents to encounter the true essence of who I am. The individual who captures more than mere images, weaving narratives through each frame. As the night unfolded, we made our way to Richard and Margaret's house, my camera equipment in tow. Adam and Jessica occupied the living room, their bodies rigid as they sat in silence. Richard exuded an air of confidence. It seems there has been a bit of confusion. Without any misunderstanding, I interjected, preparing my tripod. This conversation is being documented for the family's collection of memories. Margaret raised her objections without hesitation. This matter pertains solely to our family. Indeed, I concurred. In the heart of the community lies a family business, yet I remain family despite your relentless efforts to alter that truth. For the next 2 hours, we unfolded everything before us. The beverage, the art of manipulation, Daniel, the other former flames, the intricate pattern that had woven itself into the very fabric of Emily and Adam's existence. Richard and Margaret, as expected, refuted all claims, labeling me as unstable and manipulative, yet with every refusal I unveiled another clip, presented another email. As the moments passed, their faces lost color, and the strength of their denials began to wane. At last, Emily rose to her feet. I hold deep affection for you both. You are my parents, yet the actions you've taken are beyond forgiveness. No longer will you hold the reins of my existence. Adam gave a slight nod. We are grown-ups. We select our own companions, the journeys we carve for ourselves. Margaret's tears flowed not born of regret, but from the stark awareness that she was slipping from her grasp of control. Richard stood there, his expression one of disbelief, as if the very notion that his children could challenge him was beyond his grasp. As we readied ourselves to depart, I passed Richard a USB drive. This encompasses all that is needed. In the shadows of the past, the footage unfolds, the emails whisper secrets, and the testimonies echo with untold stories. This treasure is now yours to cherish forever. What does that even mean? He inquired with a hint of doubt. This signifies that I will safeguard your reputation by keeping this matter to myself. It would cause Emily pain, and I could never bring myself to do that. There was a moment of stillness. However, should you ever attempt to meddle in our marriage again, or try to manipulate Emily, or speak ill of me, know that copies will be sent to every member of your country club, your business associates, and your cherished social circle. For the first time since our paths had crossed, Richard regarded me with an expression that hinted at a newfound respect. I didn't give you enough credit. Indeed, I stated simply, you did indeed. Half a year slipped by. Emily and Adam embarked on a journey of therapy, seeking to untangle the complexities wrought by their parents' actions. Margaret and Richard maintained a careful distance, exchanging the occasional text while honoring the boundaries we had set. During the holiday season, they extended an invitation to all of us for dinner. A new beginning, the invitation proclaimed. Emily felt a strong desire to go. She stated, "They remain my parents. They are making an effort." I consented, yet I wasn't so gullible as to think they had truly transformed. Upon our arrival, all appeared to be as it should. Margaret had meticulously crafted a sumptuous feast. Richard exuded charm, inquiring about my latest projects with an air of sincere curiosity. Once dinner had concluded, Richard extended an invitation for me to join him in his study. "I have a proposition for you," he said, as he poured me a scotch. "I've been reflecting on your career journey. Photography has indeed treated you well. Have you thought about exploring different options? I could welcome you into my firm. Path to becoming a junior partner. The salary promised to be quite considerable." I grasped the glass, yet refrained from taking a sip. "What could possibly motivate you to take such an action? Your family," he said, his voice flowing like a gentle stream. "I admire the way you navigated through the discomfort. You stood your ground and shielded my daughter. A true man acts in such a way." I placed the glass on the table, remaining untouched. Thank you for the offer, but I must decline. His smile grew taut. Ethan, please consider this with an open mind. This represents a gesture of peace, a path for us to advance together. No, I said again. It's yet another effort to seize control. Richard, you cannot purchase me, and it drives you mad that Haley loves me just the way I am. Don't be a fool, he hissed, the mask slipping away. Each person carries a value that can be measured. I rose to my feet.
But that's where you've missed the mark. And that is precisely why you will never truly grasp the essence of your daughter. As I made my way back to the dining room, I found Margaret engrossed in sharing photo albums with Haley.
Look at these, she was saying. In those days when you resided under the familiar roof of home, joy enveloped you like a warm embrace. Across the room, Haley captured my attention. Her gaze fell upon my face, and in that moment she understood that something was amiss. With a subtle nod from me, she rose to her feet. Mom, Dad, she declared with clarity, there's something I need to share with you. All eyes were drawn to her. Ethan and I are expecting a baby. 3 months into this journey of pregnancy, I find myself in a world of anticipation and wonder. Their faces reflected a true sense of shock. Margaret was the first to recover, her heart swelling as she rushed to embrace her daughter, tears glistening in her eyes. Richard moved closer, his gaze shifting back and forth between Haley and me. Congratulations, he uttered with a certain rigidity. I expressed my gratitude, saying thank you. Then I lowered my voice so that only he could hear. This child shall never serve as a mere piece in your schemes, I assure you of that. His expression grew steely, yet he gave a single nod. He grasped the meaning behind the words. As we made our way home under the blanket of night, Haley gently clasped my hand in hers. They will never change, will they? No, I spoke with sincerity, yet they must come to terms with the fact that we have. 3 weeks passed, and then a certified letter appeared sent by Richard's attorney. Within the confines of that envelope lay a deed to a house, our house, the very one we had called home while renting. Legal documents had been crafted to establish a trust fund for our unborn child. It came without a note, devoid of conditions or strings attached. The transfer of assets straightforward and permanent. It was not an apology. Richard lacked the ability to achieve that. Yet it stood as a recognition, maybe the sole gesture he could offer, that our victory was undeniable. In the warm embrace of summer, our daughter made her entrance into the world. We chose the name Clara, honoring my grandmother. As Margaret and Richard arrived at the hospital, they carried gifts in hand, yet chose to keep a respectful distance. They admired the baby with soft coos, captured moments in photographs, and departed without offering unsolicited parenting tips or financial discussions. As the months slipped by, our relationship with them evolved into a state that felt akin to normalcy. Though they never offered an apology for their actions, they ceased their attempts to manipulate Haley's life and undermine my career. One evening, while I was immersed in the task of editing photos in my studio, Haley entered, cradling Clara in her arms. My mother called, she mentioned. She is inviting us to join her for Christmas. I lifted my gaze from the screen before me. What is it that you wish to pursue? I think we should go, she replied. However, there are stipulations. We choose to stay at a hotel rather than at their house. We depart at our own choosing. There was no time spent alone with Clara. I gave a slight nod. That seems quite sensible. She settled next to me, cradling the baby with a gentle bounce. There was a time when I believed that success was all about bringing joy to my parents, securing their endorsement, fulfilling their expectations. What comes next? She cast her gaze upon our daughter, then turned her eyes back to me. At this moment, I understand that it's all about the choices I can take pride in, by the side of those I cherish. It was 2 weeks prior to Christmas when a sizable envelope made its way to me, sent by none other than Richard. Within its confines lay a glossy brochure detailing the annual report of his company. Throughout, my photographs found their place in the spotlight, vast landscapes striking portraits and captivating architectural shots. The work I had accomplished shaped entirely by my own vision, free from his meddling. A brief note lay before me. I enlisted the services of the finest photographer I know. I figured you might appreciate having a copy.
G. It was neither forgiveness nor reconciliation. It was truly something else.
Perhaps respect, recognizing that I achieved success according to my own standards. It did not belong to him. Calling to express my gratitude was not something I did. We both recognized that this was not a matter of gratitude. It was a moment of acknowledging the newly defined limits. A fresh chapter unfolds. That spring, I took the bold step of opening my own gallery in the heart of downtown Asheville. At the grand opening, there was Emily standing right beside me, Clara perched upon her hip. My parents arrived from Oregon by plane. The room buzzed with friends and clients, their eyes drawn to the images I had captured throughout the years. As the evening began to draw to a close, Richard and Margaret made their entrance. They lingered for only a brief moment. Margaret cradled Clara for a moment, all the while under Emily's vigilant gaze. Richard grasped my hand firmly, his eyes lingering on the photographs with a nod of sincere appreciation, before departing without offering any advice on the management of my business. As we secured the doors that evening, Emily inquired, "Do you think they've changed?" As I pondered the question, I weighed each aspect with great care. "No," I finally said. "Yet they have come to terms with the reality that altering us is beyond their reach. And at times, that suffices." As we lounged on the porch, gazing at the stars emerging over the mountains with Clara peacefully sleeping in her crib upstairs, a thought crystallized in my mind, one I had never quite put into words before. Victory had eluded me in the game devised by Richard and Margaret. I had triumphed by choosing not to engage in the game whatsoever. I stood firm, safeguarding what was dear to me, and crafted my life based on my own vision of achievement. Not through schemes or manipulation, but rather through honesty and a steadfast, quiet persistence. Ultimately, that became the most gratifying form of retribution imaginable, embracing life fully guided by my own choices, surrounded by the cherished family who stood by my side.